Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Megan James, and my coworker Emily Schreiber is also here with us this afternoon to share with you all about what preschool is like in Bellevue School District. We have lots of information we're going to be sharing with you about enrollment and what the day could look like for your preschooler when they attend Bellevue Preschool. And then we'll also have time for questions at the end. How we're going to run the presentation today is you will have an area where you can submit your questions and the questions and answers. And then Emily or myself will read those questions at the end of our time together and address any of those questions that you still have at the end of our presentation. In that question and answer box, I also put some information about our translated presentation materials that are available on the Bellevue School District website. If you're not able to get to that question and answer section, you can also find those translated materials just by going to the Bellevue School District website and then going to student enrollment. Right where you signed up to attend this session today, you'll find all of the translated materials there. In our time together today, like I mentioned, we'll discuss the different program offerings. So the different programs we have here in Bellevue for you and your child. We'll talk about what the daily schedule looks like for a child who is in the full day or half day program. We'll go over the curriculums that we use in our program here in Bellevue. We've also collected in advance some questions that you all have, so we'll be answering some of those questions even before our question time today. And then we'll be talking about enrollment, so the dates for enrollment, the cost of our program here in Bellevue, and then again, your question and answer box at the very end.
Hello, everyone. I'm Emily Schreiber. I'm one of our early learning curriculum developers here at our school district. I just wanted to introduce myself. You see some pictures of my family on the screen. This is my son. He is 2.5 years old. His name's Everett. I'm also currently due to have a baby girl in February. And then that's our dog. He's a husky mix, and then there's me and my husband. As an early learning curriculum developer, Megan and I kind of split the schools. We travel around to schools to support teachers. We act as instructional coaches, and we work a lot with making sure the curriculum is implemented in our classrooms.
And again, my name is Megan James, another one of the early learning curriculum developers with my coworker, Emily. Here I brought you some pictures of my little daughter, Harper. She is 7 years old and currently in first grade. So not too many years ago, I was also a preschool parent. So I feel kind of an expert to be able to answer questions that you might have. Harper is a very active student. She is not one that really likes to just sit down and pen and paper to do activities. She always wants to be up and moving. So I think that's something unique that I bring to kind of our program and the perspective when Emily and I are out coaching teachers. We're so happy to have you here with us today. So we'll start off with kind of what a daily schedule might look like for your child. So the schedule you see here on the screen, it can change depending on the classroom makeup of students, the time of day that the school, that classroom begins. But this is kind of just a sample of what it might look like if your child attends our full day program, the kind of activities you might typically see them do during a school day. So your student will enter the classroom, put away their backpack and their coat. All of our teachers have their students wash their hands first thing when entering the classroom. Then they have some kind of entering activity, often like a table task. So there will be different activities set out throughout the classroom, and your child will get to engage with one of those activities at a table with their classmates. Sometimes you might have either a breakfast in your classroom or a snack time at that time of the day as well. Then your classroom's teacher will gather everyone at the carpet for what we would call a morning meeting, checking in with the students, seeing how their morning was, checking in and kind of giving them a preview of what they will be doing during the day, going over their daily schedule so they know what to expect. Then your child will get to engage in free choice each day. So that would be when they're able to visit the different centers around the classroom. So that could be blocks or creative play and a pretend kitchen, reading books, an art center. So they'll get to self-select those areas around the classroom where they would like to engage in play with their peers. During that time, the teachers in the classroom will be assisting students at these different centers, as well as pulling small groups. So a small group would mean they pull a few students over to a table to work on a specific skill or task. So maybe they're learning about pets and they're working on a fish tank craft where they are painting and using fine motor skills to do sand in that tank. So that could be something that would be done small group. Maybe the student needs a little bit more practice. They're learning the letter I, and the child needs a little bit more practice writing that letter I. That would be a time when the teacher would, based on student needs, pull a small group to a table to work on some of those skills. Then your child, these are all short time periods. As you know, with your children, they don't have the longest attention spans at this age. So all of these are very small chunks of the day put together to make up the full day. So then they might go to a circle again. So back to the carpet. And then each of the circles would have a theme. So could be around literacy, reading a story, writing stories together, working on letter names and sounds. Then each classroom in a full day program will have a lunch period. We'll talk more about what lunch looks like later in this presentation. Then each day they'll have time outside. So either 1 or 2 recesses is typical for a full day schedule. Each day they'll have a story time. In our program, we do offer a quiet time, and we'll talk more specifically about what that looks like later on in the presentation. If they didn't do a snack or breakfast in the morning, they might kind of do an afternoon snack. So to tide them over until you pick them up or they go to after school care. And then a circle focused more around math. We have part of our curriculum that focuses on math as well. Depending on time and how the day is worked, they often will do a second free choice period where they get to explore different fun stations around the classroom. And then an end of the day circle, wrapping it all up. How did our day go? That will usually include songs and dances and stories, and then getting the students ready to be either picked up by you or transition to the after school program. So that is kind of what a typical day would look like. If your child is enrolling in our half-day program, a thing to note would be that they do not have a lunch period if they are a student that is in our half-day program. They'll still get recess and have free choice time and do some of those larger group activities. Usually what happens in our half-day programs is they'll alter. So maybe Monday and Thursday, they do a literacy circle, and then Tuesday and Friday, they do a math circle. So they wouldn't do a math and literacy circle both every day just because of the shortened time. They would alternate what subjects they are teaching each day. And instead of, say, doing 2 times of free choice a day, they would just do 1. So that's kind of how you could imagine that abbreviated schedule for a half-day student.
Okay, I'm going to walk you through some of the curriculums that we use in our program. Our first curriculum that we use is called the creative curriculum. This is kind of our core curriculum where we have literacy and math activities. This is a really cool curriculum that students are really highly engaged in. It's all thematic based and it's based off student interest. So teachers can choose what unit they want to teach at what time of year based off of what the kids in the class are interested in at that time. So for some examples, at the beginning of this year, a lot of our teachers taught the trees unit for fall. Right now, a lot of them are teaching the pets unit. They're looking forward to teaching the clothing unit in the winter. And then in the spring, we have a lot of teachers who teach units about gardening and insects and recycling. So that just gives you an idea of some of the topics that your student would be learning next year. Our second step curriculum is our social emotional curriculum. And this is where students learn how to be kind, how to be a good friend, how to participate as a member of a classroom, how to listen, how to play fairly, all of those things that we want our kids to know, just to be a good human. Our second step curriculum is also taught in our kindergarten, first and second grade classrooms in Bellevue. So if your child were to continue on in their educational journey in Bellevue, they would get to see this familiar curriculum in the next grades that they would be participating in. Our next curriculum is Haggerty. This is our phonemic awareness curriculum. This is where students are learning about letter sounds, and they're learning how to blend those sounds to make words. This is a lot of the pre-reading skills that kids need to succeed in older grades for reading and writing. Haggerty is also adopted as a curriculum for our kindergarten and first grade students in Bellevue. So again, this would be a curriculum that would look familiar to them if they continue on in Bellevue School District after preschool. Computer science is also something that our preschoolers get to participate in. I was just in a classroom this morning. Next week is our Hour of Code week. So we had some volunteers from Amazon and Microsoft coming into our preschool classrooms to teach some lessons about computer science. On the screen, you'll see those cute little robots. It's a Bee-Bot and a Codapillar, and they get to use those to write different code and make the little machines move across the room. So kids really love computer science in our preschool program. The next one we have is Handwriting Without Tears, and this is our handwriting curriculum. Students are working on letter and number formation, how to hold the pencil correctly, that correct pencil grip, and how to make sure they're applying the right amount of pressure on the paper to be able to see their writing. Those are all skills that preschoolers are working on through our Handwriting Without Tears curriculum. And then our pyramid model, this is more of a model about positive behavior supports. So in Bellevue, we believe that kids do best with positive reinforcement. So they're learning skills to be able to monitor their own behavior. They're learning skills about social awareness, how to get along with others, and how to solve problems in the classroom. Teachers are really good about using positive reinforcement to enforce those positive behaviors in class. We're going to move on now to some frequently asked questions. Like Megan said, there's a question and answer box over on the side of your screen. If you think of questions that aren't in this section, please type them in there, and then at the end of the presentation, we'll address the rest of your questions. So our first question is, who is the Bellevue School District Preschool for? What kids does our program serve? And the answer to that is Bellevue School District serves all kids. Our preschool program is for all students, whether you live within the Bellevue School District bounds or outside. We're happy to have your students join our program. We have students that have IEPs and disabilities in our classrooms. We have students that are working on different goals in speech and adaptive and social emotional skills in our classrooms. We also have students who are multi-language learners in our classroom. We serve all of those students. We also serve students that are ECAP students who receive state funding to be able to attend preschool. So later on in the presentation, I'll go over tuition rates and those types of things, and we'll talk about how you can apply to get a subsidy or some tuition assistance if that's a barrier for your family. Hey, why Bellevue School District Preschool? What makes our program different than others? We recognize that you all have a lot of options in this area on where to send your students to preschool. And these are some of the things that we think makes our preschool stand out amongst others. The first thing, like I was talking about on our curriculum slide, is that our curriculums are aligned with our kindergarten program. So even like the themes that the teachers are teaching, a lot of them show back up again in the kindergarten curriculum. So it's really helping your students learn that academic vocabulary and all of those that background knowledge that they're going to need in kindergarten. Like I said, our social emotional curriculum and our phonemic awareness programs are both things that your child will see again in kindergarten. Another perk to Bellevue School District Preschool is you'll get to join our elementary school communities early. With your child attending preschool, they also get to participate in all of the school activities and programs. A lot of our schools have just such awesome communities. There's PTSAs that they're really fun family events and really exciting things to participate in as a family, and you'll get access to all of those early if your child comes to our preschool program. Another thing is you get early access to all of the school support systems. Being in a school district, we have the support of counselors and physical therapists and speech pathologists. We have occupational therapists, psychologists. We have all of these things in our schools already. So if a teacher notices a student might benefit from any of these support systems, then they'll connect your family to these people in the school. It's really great. Then when they go to kindergarten, they already know a lot of the people in the building. They have those familiar faces that they can kind of rely on. Another thing is we have really highly trained teachers that participate in ongoing professional development. Our preschool program follows the same district calendar as kindergarten through 12th grade. And so our preschool teachers get to participate in all of the professional development that all of our kindergarten through 12th grade teachers get to participate in. On those Wednesday afternoons when students go home early, our preschool teachers are participating in professional development with their K-5 colleagues in the afternoons, which is awesome for preschool to kindergarten alignment. Teachers really feel that, sense of belonging at their school buildings, and the preschoolers are really looked at as part of our elementary schools.
I know this is a really big question as a mother myself. Is my child going to be fed while they are at preschool? So here's a little bit about what you can expect with meals and snacks when your student attends school here in Bellevue School District for preschool. So for lunch in the full day program, they will have a lunch period. Some of our classes or some of our sites eat in the cafeteria at their school, and others eat in their classroom. That is kind of just space dependent on in specific to each building if there is room for the preschoolers to eat in the cafeteria. That's personally our preference, so your child can get to know the routines of the cafeteria, holding trays, with assistants getting food from the food line, picking their side choices and that kind of thing. So many of our classrooms do get to eat in the lunchroom. Your child, when coming to school here, they can choose if you would like to purchase a lunch from school, so from the cafeteria, or you can send your child to school with a lunch from home. That option is yours. How school lunches work if they want to purchase a lunch at school is you will get an online access to be able to add money to a lunch account for your child. And then each day when they go through the lunch line, it will just deduct the price of the lunch from their lunch account. So that's all done online. We'll send you reminders when your balance is low for their lunch account. But again, you can also choose to send a lunch from home if that's what you prefer. For snacks in our both half day and full day programs, there will be a snack time each day. Again, you can choose to send a snack from home if you would like. It's dependent on site. If it is a kind of school, school-wide, everyone has the same snack, or if snacks are provided by the parent each day. At the beginning of the school year, you'll have a chance to meet with your child's teacher for a conference before the school year even starts. And they'll let you know if it is going to be a school-provided snack at your site, or if they're going to ask that you send a small snack to school with your child each day. In our program, we do offer kind of a rest time for students. And what that will look like is they're offered 30 minutes each day to kind of have a quiet time. And I'll go more into what that looks like. If your child is a napper or you would like them to nap at school, our program provides a nap mat for them. And then weekly you will send a crib sheet and a blanket with them to school, and maybe like a little lovey that they can have at school for their nap time. It'll get sent home with you on Fridays. You'll wash it and then you'll send it back on Mondays for them to be able to take a nap. If your student does no longer naps, or they're kind of preparing for kindergarten and we're trying to get away from naps so they're prepared for that full day schedule with no nap in kindergarten, what we do for our students in that situation is we would have 30 minutes of kind of just quiet time. And quiet time doesn't mean they have to lay on a mat quietly. What it would mean is they would maybe be at a table, reading books or doing a quiet art activity or doing kind of a small group quiet activity with their teacher, while it's time to allow the other children who are napping to fall asleep successfully. At the end of that 30 minutes, then we will we'll kind of turn the lights up a little bit more. They'll get to move around the classroom, the children that aren't napping, and the nappers will get to continue napping for their regularly scheduled nap time. After that 30 minutes, it's very typical for many of our students to get that aren't napping to get an extra recess, which will allow a quiet environment for the children that are napping. Again, at that beginning of year conference before the first day of school, your child's teacher will go over kind of what the schedule is like in their specific classroom. And it'll be a great time for you to ask questions of your child's teacher as well. Something that we do here in preschool is we at Bellevue School District is we do not require that all children are potty trained upon entering. In Bellevue, we do have mixed age classrooms, so we have children ranging from ages 3 to 5 years, and so we know there is a large progression there of kind of their toilet readiness at that time. So we'd expect more with our, threes and younger fours to still be working through some of that independent toileting, where our older fours and fives that are getting ready for kindergarten are more independent in that. So our teachers are trained and do receive ongoing professional development around best practices, around toileting and helping students become more independent in the restroom. Also setting up plans with families. So if your child is still in pull-ups or diapers, your child's teacher, when they're seeing those readiness indicators, will work with you and your family on how to support the child at home, as well as in the classroom to be successful in moving towards toileting independence. But they do not need to be fully potty trained. What would happen is, as the family, if your child was still in diapers or pull-ups, you would send the diapers or pull-ups to school with them and make sure they have a supply there at school that fits appropriately. And then at the school, we have wipes and sanitizer and gloves and that kind of thing. So you would just be expected to provide the diapers or pull-ups. Teacher ratio. So a day in a life in preschool, what you would expect to see when you walk in is we have two or more teachers in a classroom with students. So our ratio is for every 10 kids we have, there will be one teacher in the classroom. Each classroom is led by a lead teacher in the classroom, and that you'll most typically see that teacher leading the whole group lessons. Then we'll also have an assistant teacher in the classroom who will help students with just tasks around the classroom. They might be pulling small groups of students. They might meet you at the door when you arrive if the lead teacher is already running a circle up front. So the assistant teachers are really there to just support the lead teacher with any task they might need some extra assistance with during the day. Our classroom caps here in Bellevue are 20 children in our classrooms. I would say typically our classrooms range more in the 15 to 17 student ratio. For our classrooms, but our cap is 20, and then you would expect to see two teachers in there with your child. We also have what is called floater teachers. So your child might come home and say, "Oh, I have another teacher." That's very typical. That would be a teacher that would come in and they would give breaks to our lead and our assistant teachers. During the day, so they can go take their breaks. We have someone come in to relieve them during that time. So your child will get to know other staff around their school, just kind of with how the day is with the breaks of the teachers.
Okay, I'm going to talk a little bit about enrollment. So this is one of our most popular questions that we get asked. What if my preferred location is not available? So when you fill out the application for a preschool program, it's going to ask you what your top choice is for preschool locations. Um, if you if it is already full by the time they get to your name to enroll your child, then you're going to be placed on a wait list for your location of choice. Um, and so what that will look like is our preschool office will send you a message and tell you you've been placed on the wait list. And then they'll reach out to you and ask you what your second choice is for programs. Um, I'll talk about when enrollment opens and what you can do to try to make sure that you're one of the first to sign up for your preferred location. Okay, so here are our enrollment dates. Returning families are currently enrolling. So A lot of children in our program are in our program for 2 years since we serve students ages 3 to 5. So returning families kind of get the first say if they want their child to return to their current location or not. After that, our enrollment is first come, first serve. So it's done in the order in which the applications are received. So on January 15th, Bellevue School District staff can start enrolling their or submitting their applications for their students. And then new families, all new families, the applications open on February 1st. We don't have a time for when they will open right now. We're working on getting that, and we'll post that on our preschool website once we know the time on February 1st that enrollment will open. But if you really have your heart set on one specific location, I would recommend that on February 1st, you submit the application, just because it is on that first come, first serve basis. Okay, this slide shows our Bellevue School District preschool program offerings. So on the left there, you're going to see our 2025-2026 locations. We're at every school in the district next year except for Somerset and Spirit Ridge, and that's just due to space. So our new location for next year is Cherry Crest. We're adding 2 classrooms at Cherry Crest Elementary next year. There's a little caret next to some of the locations up there, and that is where our half-day programs were offered this year. We're not totally sure where our half-day programs will be next year. We're hoping to keep them at the same locations as this year, but there may be some changes. So please keep an eye on our preschool website, and we'll post where the half-day programs will be offered prior to that February 1st application date. Like I mentioned, we have full day programs and half day programs. Our full day programs are that 6.5 hour school day that our K-5 students have. Usually, it's site dependent, but usually they follow the same exact schedule, the start and end times as the K-5 students. Sometimes the school might kind of stagger preschool and K-5 start by 5 or 10 minutes just to help with traffic flow. But usually the start and end times are the same as the older students. Our half day program is a 3-hour day, and that's just to allow our teachers to have that 30 minutes between when the morning students leave and when the afternoon students arrive. You'll also see our program fees. We have a $500 non-refundable deposit, and that will be applied to your first month tuition. So when you submit your application, you'll submit that $500 non-refundable deposit in order to hold your spot, and that's applied to your first month of tuition. There's also a $100 yearly administration fee and a $100 yearly materials fee. On the right, you'll see our tuition rates. This is what we anticipate them being next year. These tuition rates are subject to board approval. So we're waiting on our school board approval, but we anticipate that these will be approved. So this is what our tuition will be for next year. There's kind of 3 different categories. So if you live in the Bellevue School District, that's that first box up there. You'll see what it costs for full day, half day, and then full day special education. For out of district tuition, that's that middle box. So you can see what it costs for full day and half day. And then at the bottom is our Bellevue School District staff tuition. So if you work for the Bellevue School District, you do receive a little bit of a discount. Also, I mentioned earlier that tuition assistance and state subsidies are available if you think that tuition is going to be a barrier for your family. So please contact our preschool office, and you can see the website right up there. It's preschooloffice@bsd405.org. And you can ask about how to apply for that tuition assistance or subsidies to see if you qualify. This is another common question that we get asked. What happens if I need to withdraw my child from preschool? We understand that families move. Things might come up to where you might come into a situation where you need to withdraw your student in the middle of the year. So we require a 30-day written notification prior to the start of a quarter. So for example, if you wanted to withdraw your student for the month of October, then you would need to let our preschool office know 30 days before Q2. So that would be on September 1st. Same goes for if you wanted to withdraw your student in November, we would need to know by September 1st. We operate on that kind of quarterly schedule just to make sure our classrooms stay kind of consistent with the number of students enrolled. This is another very common question that we get asked about. We recognize that there's often a need for before and after care, child care for students in our program. So we use Right at School. It's a community partner that partners with the school district, and this shows their offerings for the current school year. So you'll see this table up here, and it has all of our school sites for this year listed. Next year, there will be the addition of Cherry Crest, but it shows which schools offer before school care and which offer after school care. There's also the tuition rates up there for this school year for after school and before school. Right at School has a really nice website where they kind of walk you through the application process for that and explain how it works. I encourage you, if you have any questions about before or after school, to reach out to the Right at School Care staff. They're wonderful at replying and communicating with families. Also, this is something to note. A lot of our kindergarten through 5th grade students either have Right at School or Bellevue Boys and Girls Club. And if you enroll your child in preschool Right at School, they will not be with the kindergarten through 5th graders. They will stay in a preschool classroom at their school site for before and after care with just preschool students. So we don't mix with like the preschoolers with 4th and 5th grade students. All the preschoolers stay together with the other preschoolers for before and after care. Right at School also offers, they have a whole curriculum that they use for before and after care. Your child would get to go outside on the playground for some extra outside time. They do art and craft activities, and they also get to socialize with students from the other preschool classrooms, which they find really fun. Another question we often get asked about is our language programs. So what language options are available? So next year, Jingmei Elementary will offer our Mandarin and English classes for the 2025 and 2026 school year. These classrooms are about 50-50. So about 50% of the instruction is in Mandarin and about 50% of it is in English. We are also really excited next year for all classrooms to get the Introduction to Languages program. This program is just a quick 15 to 20-minute mini lesson that's taught 2 days a week to students, and they just get a quick introduction of a new language. For example, this year, our Introduction to Languages program is at Ardmore Elementary, and students in that program are getting mini lessons on Arabic, Russian, and Spanish this year. So next year, we are really excited to offer that opportunity to all Bellevue preschool students. Oh, another thing to note is another question we often get is if your child gets into Jingmei preschool, will they be guaranteed there for kindergarten? And no, they won't. Once they go into kindergarten, they go into the lottery system for the K-5 program. So a lot of our preschool students do end up getting in, but it's not a guarantee.
Awesome. Thank you, Emily. You might be wondering, can I go and view the preschool site that I'm most interested in? Yes, this year we are offering open houses at each of our school sites. We kind of changed the model of how we did that this year. We heard from families that they really wanted to see the space in which their child will be attending preschool. So here on this chart and also on the Bellevue School District website, you can see when your preferred school's open house is. For example, Sherwood Forest is on Thursday, December 5th from 4 to 5. That's today, isn't it? So that would be a 1-hour time frame when you can go and view a classroom. preschool classroom at that site. There will be no formal presentation given by our staff members there. That's kind of the intent of this time together today. But it will be a time just for you to drop in any time between 4 and 5, so you don't need to be there the whole time, just to see what the space looks like at each of those schools. So I suggest if you are interested in more than one site, that this is a great time to go view those sites to help you make your decision before the application opens on February 1st. At each of those open houses, there you will meet teachers from that program. So we have lead teachers and assistant teachers who will be there to open their spaces for you to be able to see. So it's also a great time to meet some of the staff that are at that specific school site. We know this is a lot of information today, and Emily and I have been trying to wildly answer questions in the chat box, and we will go over those with you all as well. But I know from being a parent myself that you will leave this presentation and think, oh no, I should have asked that one question. Well, we are here to answer questions when you have them. A few ways that you can get a hold of us. You can call if no one is available to answer the phone at the time of your phone call. Please leave a message and we will get back to you as soon as we can. You can also email the preschool office. It's preschooloffice@bsd405.org. We will find the answer to your question. If it's, sometimes it'll get forwarded on to Emily or myself if it's more of a curriculum question, but we have a whole support staff here in the office, and we'll be able to answer whatever questions you have that will help you in making your decision when that enrollment does open on February 1st. Also, feel free to stop by our early learning office. We are located right at the Bellevue School District offices across from the Bellevue Botanical Gardens, and our address is here. We're Suite 209, so right on the entry level of the building we are in. Stop by. We are more than happy to answer your questions here. Also, provide assistance with completing the application once that application does open online. We also have staff here that can help with tuition assistance. If the tuition is going to be a barrier, we can help you fill out the applications for tuition assistance or for state funding as well for preschool. So please come and visit us. And if you are looking for just more general preschool information, maybe a family member or a spouse wasn't able to be here today, please direct them to our preschool website. We have a frequently asked questions area. We'll be actually loading this video after today to our website. So if you want to watch it again, you're more than welcome to. Send it to anyone you know that's also interested in preschool in Bellevue so they get the same information that you did here today. Here are some quick links for you. So again, our website has lots of information. Our preschool family handbook gives all sorts of information about what it is like to be a family here in our program, kind of our offerings and the things we do. There is a link to our 25-26 district calendar. Like Emily mentioned, we do follow the district calendar. So the same, winter breaks, the same early release on Wednesdays, the same kind of last day of school. We follow those things. There are a few differences in our calendar here in preschool. We start a little bit later in September, just like our kindergarten colleagues do, and that allows our teachers to attend trainings once they come back from summer, as well as hold that beginning of year conference with you, the family. We follow the same November conference days, so that's an abbreviated school day for our full day students, and then a no school day for our half day students. That allows our teachers to have a kind of a mid-year November conference with you. The kids have had a few months in school. They can share kind of what they're observing in the classroom. It's a great time to ask questions. So there are those days in November. And then there is one additional day in June. It's a Friday in June where your child will not have school. And that will allow, and that's different than the K-12 colleagues. So that's really something to know is one day in June, just preschool won't have school. And that's a day that our teachers will hold end of year conferences. So they'll share with you kind of what your child has done the entire school year in preschool, the growth they've made, talk about, your plans for the summer. If they're continuing on to kindergarten the following year, they'll kind of talk to you about what that transition will be like to kindergarten, and just help you connect you to any supports you need for over the summer while your child will not be in preschool. We also have the last one is frequently asked questions. So we collect those as you send us emails or ask questions in these sessions. We do collect those and put the most common ones on our website just to try to have as much information there for you as possible. One last contact for you. So we do have a director of early learning. Her name is Kelly Taylor. We have her contact information here. So if you ever have a question that you would like answered by our director here in the program, that is her contact information there. I'm going to move to the chat box to see what kind of questions. If you are not interested in staying for the question and answers, you don't have to, so feel free to drop off of this call whenever you would like. But now Emily and I will be kind of going over some of the questions we saw in the chat box and answering those if they haven't already been answered in the presentation.
Okay. I see a question. It says, currently at Parent View, we can have 2 school preferences. Could you confirm that the coming year we can only have 1 school preference? And yes, that is true. In past years, we've allowed families to put their top 2 preferences on the application. And this next year, that will be a change. You'll only be able to put your first choice, and then our preschool office will contact you if you're added to the wait list.
I see a question here about drop off at the beginning of the day. Some of our preschool classrooms start at the exact same time as their other elementary colleagues. So as the K-5 at their school, they have the same drop off and pickup time. Some schools have altered that by maybe 5 or 10 minutes just to help with traffic flow. If you have another child in school, you know that it's always a busy time in the parking lot in those mornings and afternoons to try to get there for drop off and pickup. So some schools have decided to kind of stagger the preschool start just to help with traffic flow. For preschool, families do walk their child to their classroom. We have different state regulations, so we have to have you sign in your student each day and sign them out. So that is a difference from the K-5 students in the building where they don't need to be signed in and signed out each day.
Another question on here says, do you have days where parents can volunteer and help out in the classroom? And the answer to that is yes. We love to have families volunteer in preschool classrooms. Like Megan said, there is a conference at the beginning of the year with your child's teacher, and you should definitely discuss your interest with volunteering in the classroom with your child's teacher then, and they can give you all the details on how to become a volunteer in the classroom.
There's a question in the chat box about the open houses. So if you are out of town or not able to make it to your desired school's open house, will there be other options? So for this year, these are the open houses we will be holding kind of for privacy and security reasons. We can't have kind of adults on premises when children are there unless it's some special situation. So that's why we are holding most of these after hours. So children will not be present in this space during these open houses. If you're not able to make it to your preferred school's open house, I would suggest visiting another one. So our classrooms are all set up very, very similarly with the same type of materials, the same general flow. Each class space might look a little different due to kind of the construction of the buildings, but please go visit a different preschool classroom if your preferred site, if you're not able to make it to that one. Also, if you have specific questions, I know we had a question in the chat box about restrooms, and if those are in our classrooms. Some of our classrooms do have restrooms within their space, and some the restrooms are located just right outside the door in the hallway, and they would have a staff member joining them to bring them to the restroom to make sure they get there and back safely. So if you have specific questions like that about what the restroom situation is at a specific site, feel free to send us a message or give us a call, and we can let you know about the specific site that you're interested in.
There's another one about, can a child enroll in the middle of the school year? And yes, our enrollment is ongoing throughout the school year. The only difference is some sites might be full, depending on what site you want your child to go to. So we do have space in a lot of our preschool classrooms right now, but we do have some sites that are full, especially mid-year.
So a few questions about the after school program. So right at school. So is there limited spots in before and after care? So yes, they have the same ratios as we have here in preschool. So they need a certain amount of staff for the amount of children. Kind of what has happened this year is if we have a lot of interest, they might open up another space. For example, this year, Clyde Hill has a lot of interest. So they're dividing the children into two separate rooms and having more staff for that. But I would say if the before and after care is something that you are interested in, get your application in quickly, and then apply for the before and after care quickly as well, to make sure that you get a spot in those programs. Another question about the before and after care was, is it in the same space as maybe the Right at School or Boys and Girls Club for the older students? Like Emily mentioned earlier, no, preschoolers stay just with preschoolers, and they stay in a preschool space. So if your child attends Newport Heights, we have one classroom that we dedicate for Right at Schools at Newport Heights. And so your child, maybe it will be their classroom from the day. So they'll just stay in one space and the staff will change. If it's not the classroom where your child attends during the school day, a staff member will walk them to the Right at School room, where they will be with students from kind of all of the different classes at that site. So they'll get to meet lots of friends from different classes. It's really fun community building with the students, kind of getting to know kids that aren't typically in their class during the day.
There was a question about, if your child gets accepted into preschool at age 3, will they be guaranteed a spot the following year at the same preschool? And the answer to that is yes. That's why we allow our returning families to submit their applications first, to make sure that if kids want to stay at the same site, they can. If you would want to change sites after 1 year at a site, you're also welcome to submit applications for that new site the following year as well. And then they asked a follow-up question about, does this apply to kindergarten as well? So if your child was at a school in preschool, are they automatically into kindergarten at that school? And they are guaranteed a kindergarten spot if they are enrolled in their home school. But if they're not, you would need to fill out an application for open enrollment for kindergarten or enter a lottery system for any of our choice schools like Jingmei or Puesta.
There's another question about a sibling discount. So at this time, we do not offer a sibling discount, but we do offer a discount for Bellevue School District staff as kind of a thank you for your service in our district. And then we offer a discounted tuition for residents of Bellevue. So there's kind of the two discounts that we do offer.
And then we're running out of questions. Here's one. Are there going to be school buses? So no, buses are only provided to students in our special education program. So if your student has an IEP, then they would have access to a school bus if you wanted them to ride the bus.
A question here about toileting. So if your child were to have an accident, will staff help the child with changing? So kind of what we are doing here in our program is we are trying to move students to independence. So of course we will help your child if they're not able to independently kind of take off their soiled clothing. We have as much of a hands-off policy as possible. So as much as the child can do independently, we let them do independently as possible. So that's a really good thing to be practicing at home with your child who will be going into preschool. So how are we independently taking on and off our pants, our shoes, and our coats? So when they get to school, they're more independent. But yes, we will have staff there that will will help them in the event they need help getting off the soiled clothing. And then the staff member will contact you, letting you know that there was an accident at school that day, that they have some soiled clothes in their backpack, and to please send more. They will have, your teacher will ask for a spare pair of clothes to be sent, to be kept in their cubby in their classroom for those situations, those unplanned situations where they, might have an accident or might just get extra wet outside or extra dirty with a classroom painting activity. They might change into that spare pair of clothes, but they'll always let you know kind of when an accident happens and when to expect some soiled clothing to be coming home, and then asking you to send in some new clothing.
There was a question about, is there information about how long the wait list is for a specific school to kind of gauge how likely it is that you would get in? And we don't put that on our website, but you could always email the office and the office will let you know. So just email our preschool office, and they'll get you that information.
Our classrooms here in Bellevue are mixed age classrooms. So you will have students in our classrooms that range anywhere from 3 years to 5 years, and they're learning alongside each other magically in one classroom. We really see this as something that is positive for our students. Our, threes and younger fours, they have some role models to look up to. Some of the students have been in our program for 2 years that are older and can kind of really help assist our younger students kind of know what it's like to be a preschooler in a classroom. And then our older students on the other side of it, they get to be the role models and they feel this such sense of pride and kind of having that empathy to help a younger student in class. Also want to make sure that that we do have kind of differentiated curriculums that we do use with our children. So there are, for example, the Haggerty curriculum. We have two separate sets of curriculum materials, one that's meant for threes and fours and one that's meant for older fours and fives that will be going into kindergarten. And your child's teacher will kind of, when they get their group of students, they'll get to know them, do some small mini assessments to see kind of where they are, and then decide for that group what curriculum is best to be used with that specific group of students. And that is really when those small group sessions or times of the day come into play. So, there's going to be a span of ages and abilities, and the teacher will be able to kind of pull small groups based on the needs of specific students in the classroom.
I see another question on here about lunch. Are students assisted through the lunch line? Yes, they are assisted through the lunch line. Your child's teacher, the preschool teachers, stay with the kids at lunchtime. So they help all the kids through the lunch line, help them get their tray, pick all their food options. And then this person also asked, are foods served appropriate for this age group with the consideration of choking hazards in mind? Yes, they are. We follow the same kind of lunch menu as K-5. So if you look at the lunch menu in advance, you can see kind of what the options are for that day for the main course. And then there's usually kind of like a salad bar with fruits and vegetables that the kids can pick from. If you have a specific concern about foods that you do or don't want your child to have access to at school, just talk to your child's teacher. That beginning of the year conference is a perfect time to kind of go over all of those things with your child's teacher. I see some people in the room are raising their hands. I'm not sure if you're raising your hands to ask questions. We have the microphone's muted for this presentation. Just we didn't want people talking over each other. So if you could just click that Q&A box at the top and type your question into the question and answer, we'll be happy to answer your question for you.
I see a question in the box. Will Enitai continue to have the Mandarin English bilingual program like this year? So we know that there's a lot of interest in our Mandarin bilingual program. So what what we did is we actually opened up Ennetai this year based on parent and student interests. So we noticed we had a very long wait list for getting in our 4 preschool classrooms at Jingmei. So we decided to open up Ennetai as an additional site. The enrollment this year has been steady at Ennetai, but there's currently no wait list at Ennetai for Mandarin. So that's still a decision that we're making here at the kind of, office, early learning office, if we're going to be offering it at Ennetai for next year. But we'll definitely have that information on our website prior to the February 1st enrollment deadline. Right. I think with that, we will conclude our meeting for today. Again, Emily, are you able to put up the slide with the information about our email
Yes.
address and phone number? So take a little screenshot of this or a picture. So if questions do come up for you and your family as you are thinking about preschool in Bellevue, please feel free to reach out. You can email us, call us, even stop by the office. We will be happy to answer all of those questions you have. Thank you for your time today. We really value all those questions you submitted before the presentation and in our question and answer box here today. We're so excited to welcome new families into our Bellevue community and hope to see you in person very soon.
Thanks for coming.
Have a great day.